She was brutally murdered by her siblings because of an iPhone 6 and a box of cosmetics. She dreamed of nothing more than a small cosmetics shop. But jealousy from the people she called family turned her dream into a nightmare. Betrayed by her own siblings, all because of an iPhone 6 and a box of cosmetics, her story will break your heart. Amora was the kind of woman people admired but never fully understood. She wasn't rich. She wasn't born into wealth. But she carried herself with dignity, grace, and a burning desire to succeed. Her dream was simple: to own her own cosmetics shop. A place where women could walk in, see shining mirrors, smell sweet perfumes, and pick out the lip gloss or powder that made them feel beautiful. But money. Money was always the wall standing in front of her dream, so she created another path. Instead of waiting for a shop, Amora turned her old Toyota Corolla into her moving boutique. Every morning, she loaded it with boxes of foundation, lipsticks, perfumes, and creams. She would drive around town, knocking on office doors, meeting students on campus, even stopping by salons and markets. She smiled through the sun, through the stress, through the rejections. Everyone in town knew her as the lady with courage. The lady who refused to give up, but behind closed doors, inside her own family, a silent enemy watched her every move. Her stepbrother, Chike. At first, it was little things. A missing perfume here, a missing cream there. Amora never suspected him. She loved him too much. She treated him like her blood. Even when her laptop disappeared mysteriously, she didn't point fingers. She believed, family doesn't betray family. But Chike was changing. His heart had been poisoned by envy and greed. He saw Amora's small progress as a threat. Instead of celebrating her hustle, he despised it. He wanted quick money, fast respect, and easy pleasures. And worst of all, he wanted to impress his new girlfriend, a girl who only valued what he could give her. One evening, as Amora returned home tired from hawking cosmetics in her car, Chike sat with his friends and whispered his darkest plan. This time, he would not just steal. This time, he would silence her. Amora never saw it coming. She never imagined that the same stepbrother she shared food with, prayed for, and loved like her own would be the one to betray her. When the news of her death broke, the entire community was in shock. But the real tragedy was just beginning. Because when police started investigating, suspicion fell not on Chike, but on Amora's younger sister. The girl was innocent, but neighbors whispered, maybe it's jealousy. Maybe sisters fight over inheritance. Within days, the police arrested her, parading her as the prime suspect. She wept and begged, I could never harm my sister. She was everything to me. But no one believed her, and all this time, Chike sat in the shadows, pretending to cry, pretending to be broken, even hugging his father and saying, we must find justice for Amora. But justice has a way of finding its own path. When police tracked Amora's missing iPhone 6, the trail led them not to the sister, but to a young woman in another part of town. It was Chike's girlfriend. She had been flaunting the phone, even using Amora's cosmetics without shame. When police pressed her, she confessed, it was Chike. He gave them to me. The puzzle clicked. The sister was innocent. The real killer was within the house all along. Police released Amora's sister, and the entire town gasped when they saw the truth. And then the day came when the police finally stormed in, placed Chike in handcuffs, and dragged him away. But even in that moment, his face showed no regret. No tears. No shame, only a chilling silence. The family was shattered. The community trembled. And Amora's dream, the shop she never built, the life she never lived, became a painful memory. But this was just the beginning. Because the deeper the police dug, the darker the secrets they uncovered. The whole town breathed a sigh of relief when the police finally arrested Chike. People said, at last, Amora will get justice. Her younger sister, Ngozi, who had been wrongly accused at first, was released and welcomed back home. Neighbors pitied her. saying she had suffered double tragedy, losing her sister and being locked up for a crime she didn't commit, but behind her tears, behind her trembling voice, was a secret darker than anyone could imagine. Inside the police cell, Jack's arrogance began to fade. At first, he denied everything. But when the evidence piled up, the phone, the cosmetics, his girlfriend's confession, he broke down. What he said next shocked even the police officers who had heard it all. He whispered, "I didn't plan this alone. It was Ngozi, Amora's own sister." The officers froze. One leaned forward, asking, "What do you mean?" And Chike, shaking, continued, "It was Ngozi. She told me Amora loved me more than her. She said Amora always praised me but never her. She said if we got rid of her, we would share her things, and I would finally be free. She promised me money, she promised me protection. She used me." The confession sent shivers through the room. The detectives looked at each other, stunned. Could it be true? Could the sister who cried the loudest be the one pulling the strings? Without wasting time, the police moved swiftly. They stormed back to the family house and arrested Ngozi once again. This time, the handcuffs were not a mistake. The town was thrown into confusion. People gathered in groups, whispering, how could she betray her own blood? But she was the one we pitied the most. Amora loved her, cared for her, even sold cosmetics to pay her school fees. When Ngozi was dragged into the interrogation room, her mask of innocence began to crack. At first, she shouted, "It's a lie. Jack is trying to frame me." But under pressure, under the weight of evidence, her truth began to spill. Yes, she was the one who planted the seed of evil. Yes, she had whispered into Jack's ear, convincing him that Amora's success meant his failure. Yes, she had promised him a share of everything if Amora was gone. And all the while, Amora had never stopped loving her. The revelation broke the hearts of many. The betrayal was too heavy to bear. People wept when they heard it. Because what hurts most in life is not the enemy outside, but the enemy inside your own bloodline. As Ngozi sat in the cold police cell that night, she remembered the last day she saw Amora alive. Amora had hugged her and said, "No matter what, I will always protect you." Those words haunted her, but the damage was already done. The once loving family was shattered beyond repair. A father had lost his daughter. A mother could not believe her children were behind the tragedy. And a whole community, who once looked up to Amora's courage, now lived in fear of how envy could turn even sisters into killers. And yet, even with both Chike and Ngozi in custody, the case was far from over. Because the police began to uncover another disturbing layer, a hidden motive, deeper than jealousy, darker than greed. The police station was unusually quiet that night. The sound of the ceiling fan creaking above, the distant barking of dogs outside, and the muffled murmurs of officers filled the tense air. Ngozi sat on the cold metal chair, her hands cuffed to the table, her eyes red from hours of interrogation. The mask of innocence she had worn so well was gone. She looked small, broken, yet something in her face still carried a dangerous bitterness. Detective Okoro leaned forward, his voice calm but sharp. "Ngozi, the truth is already out." Jack confessed. "The evidence is clear. But we want to know why. Why would you do this to your own sister?" For a long moment, silence. Ngozi trembled, biting her lip, fighting back tears. Then, as though a floodgate broke, she spoke. "It was never supposed to be this way." Her voice cracked. "I loved Amora. But I hated her too." The officers exchanged glances. One of them switched on the recorder. Ngozi continued, her words pouring out with pain and venom. "All my life, Amora was the shining star. The daughter everybody praised. The one neighbors admired. The one father trusted the most. Even when we had nothing, she always found a way to shine. And me, I was always in her shadow. Always the second choice." She wiped her tears angrily, her voice rising, when father spoke of his will. "I overheard him. He wanted to give the family land and properties to Amora because she was responsible. He said she would know how to manage it. Do you know what that felt like? To stand there and realize you are nothing in your own home. Detective Okoro leaned closer. So you killed your sister over inheritance? But Ngozi shook her head violently. No, it wasn't just me. There was someone else. Someone who knew about the will. Someone who poisoned my heart against her. The officer stiffened. Who? Ngozi's eyes darkened. It was Uncle Ifoni. Gasps filled the room. Uncle Ifoni, their late mother's brother. A man respected in the community, a man people saw as a family advisor, always smiling, always pretending to care. He came to me, Ngozi whispered. He told me that Amora would soon take everything. That when father dies, I would be left with nothing. He said. If Amora was gone, things would be shared differently. He filled my ears with poison, told me I was wasting my life under her shadow. He made me believe I deserved more. Her voice cracked again, trembling with emotion. At first, I didn't believe him. But the more I watched Amora succeed, the more his words made sense. He pushed me. He told me to use Chaik, because Chaik was foolish and desperate. I never wanted to kill her. I only wanted her to suffer. But things went too far. The room was heavy with silence. Even the detectives, hardened by years of crime, felt the weight of her confession. A sister consumed by jealousy. An uncle manipulating her for his own hidden agenda. A family torn apart by inheritance. Detective Okoro stood, his voice firm. This case is bigger than we thought. Ngozi, you will answer for your crime. But now we must also uncover the role of Uncle Ifoni. Ngozi lowered her head, tears dripping onto the table. I betrayed the only sister who ever loved me. And for what? For empty promises. For envy that has now destroyed us all. The officers prepared the papers for her statement. But just as they were about to close the file for the night, one of the junior policemen rushed in. Sir. You need to see this. We tracked a strange transaction in Amora's bank account. Money was being moved before her death. And the account number it was sent to belongs to Uncle Ifoni. The room exploded in shock. The pieces of the puzzle were coming together, but it was only the beginning of something much darker, because Uncle Ifoni was not just after inheritance. He had his own hidden empire, his own dangerous secrets. And Amora's death was just one step in his bigger plan. The day the police moved for Uncle Ifoni, the entire community trembled. This was a man everyone thought was respectable, a smiling uncle who always gave advice, always stood in family meetings with words of wisdom. No one imagined that behind his polished face hid a heart darker than midnight, but the evidence was undeniable. Bank records. Witness testimonies. Ngozi's confession. Everything pointed to him as the shadow puppeteer who fueled the hatred that killed Amora. When the police stormed his mansion, they found more than they expected. Hidden documents. Fake accounts. Even weapons. It became clear that Ifoni wasn't just a greedy uncle, he was running an underground empire, feeding on corruption and betrayal. Neighbors gathered outside the house as he was led away in handcuffs. Some shook their heads. Others wept. How could he do this to his own blood? They murmured. Weeks later, the courthouse overflowed with people. Journalists, neighbors, family members, even strangers who had only heard of Amora's tragedy filled every seat. Everyone wanted to see how the story would end. Amora's photograph stood at the front of the courtroom, her smile forever frozen, her dream forever unfinished. The sight of it brought tears to many eyes. The judge entered, his gavel striking loudly. Order in the court. Chaik was brought forward first. He looked thinner, broken, no longer the arrogant boy who thought he could cheat justice. He could not even raise his eyes to the family he betrayed. Ngozi followed, her face pale, her eyes swollen from nights of regret. She tried to look at her father, but he turned away, unable to bear the shame, and then Uncle Ifoni. Still trying to wear the mask of confidence, but his trembling hands betrayed him. The prosecutor laid out the case with ruthless precision. Amora, a hardworking young woman, had been betrayed by the people closest to her. Chike had carried out the act, driven by greed. Ngozi had masterminded it out of jealousy and inheritance envy, and Uncle Ifoni had poisoned their minds, manipulating them for his own selfish gains. The courtroom was silent as Ngozi finally stood. Tears streaming down her face. "I killed my sister with my jealousy," she confessed. "I let darkness into my heart. She loved me, and I destroyed her. I don't ask for mercy. I only beg the world to remember Amora for her kindness, not for my betrayal." Even hardened officers wiped their eyes. Then it was Amora's father who stood, his voice trembling. "My daughter Amora worked so hard. She dreamed of a small cosmetics shop, nothing more. She never sought wealth, only peace. But envy took her life. I pray no family ever suffers like mine. May justice speak today." Finally, the judge rose, his words echoing like thunder. "This court finds Chike guilty of murder. Ngozi guilty of conspiracy and aiding murder. Ifoni guilty of manipulation, financial fraud, and masterminding the crime. By the power vested in me, you are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment. You shall spend the rest of your lives behind bars, never to see freedom again." The gavel fell, gasps filled the courtroom. Some cried. Others clapped, not in joy, but in relief, because at last, Amora's spirit could rest. As the convicts were dragged away in chains, Amora's picture still shone from the front of the courtroom. Her smile seemed almost alive, as if whispering to those who watched, "Dreams can be killed, but truth always survives. Justice may be slow, but it will come." Outside, the sky broke into light rain. Some said it was heaven crying for Amora. Others said it was heaven cleansing the land of evil, and though her cosmetic shop never came to life, Amora's story lived on, a painful reminder of how envy destroys, and how justice, though delayed, can never be denied. Her name was etched into the hearts of many, not as a victim, but as a symbol of resilience, courage, and truth. Amora was gone, but her justice was eternal. The end. Moral lesson. This story reminds us that envy is more dangerous than any enemy outside, because it hides in the hearts of those closest to us. Amora's life teaches us that no matter how small your dream, it is precious, and it deserves support, not jealousy. Love should protect, not destroy. Let us learn to celebrate the success of others, for envy and greed will only lead to regret, shame, and destruction. In the end, evil never wins, truth and justice will always speak louder. Thank you so much for watching, my amazing family. Your love and support means the world to me. Please don't forget to like this video, drop a comment to share your thoughts, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next story. Together, let's keep growing and sharing these powerful stories. I love you all. From User Stories.